Let's start with our trunk. So the trunk is majorly found in the posterior triangle of the neck. So they emerge from the posterior triangle of the neck. So if you are studying the region of the neck, you see there is a triangular like structure at the sides of the neck. So that triangular like structure is where the trunks are being formed. So remember, C5 and C6 they combine to form the superior trunk, and C7 continues to form the middle trunk, and C8 and C1 combines to form the inferior trunk. Now let's start. The superior trunk is the formation of the C5 and C6. So when C5 and C6 combine, we form the superior trunk. So the middle trunk now continues. So when the middle trunk continues, we now form the middle trunk. When the middle root, which is C7, continues, we now form the middle trunk. So what are the key branches of this superior trunk? So the branches of the superior trunk is they give rise to suprascapular nerve. So they the superior trunk, which is gotten from the combination of root C5 and C6, which gives rise to superior trunk, they branch to suprascapular nerve, and this suprascapular nerve supplies the scapular region and the nerve of the subclavius. That is what they do. So the branches of the superior trunk is to supply the suprascapular nerve and the nerve of the subclavius. So now we are through with the roots, we are through with the trunk. So let's talk about the divisions. So let's start with the divisions. Now, what are the divisions? We have three trunks. So these three trunks, each of them we split into the anterior and posterior divisions. So when they split to the anterior and posterior divisions, it will now result to the flexor compartment and the extensor compartment. So the anterior region and the posterior division give rise to nerve that supply the posterior muscles, which will now leads to extensor compartment of the arm and the forearm, while the anterior division give rise to nerve that supply the anterior region, such as the nerve supplies the brachialis, the biceps brachii, and which will now leads to the flexor compartment, which will now leads to the flexion of the hand, which is the flexor compartment. So exam tips: no peripheral nerve branches arise directly from the division. So there is no peripheral nerves that arise from the branches of directly from the division. Through the divisions, we are through with the trunk, we are through with the roots to the trunk, the divisions, and we are about to enter into the what? Into the cord. So let's start with our cord. Let's start with the cord. So we have the medial cord, we have the lateral cord, and we have the posterior cord. So they are named together with the axillary artery. So if you have studied about the axillary artery, the way by which we name the axillary artery is also similar by which we name the cord. So the lateral cord, now take a look at the axillary artery. Now, when we say something is lateral, meaning that is far away from the origin. So we have the medial. Medial is more closer to the mid sagittal plane than the lateral cord. So for this reason, we call it lateral, meaning it's more far away, and medial, meaning that is more closer. So we also have the posterior cord, and the posterior cord is behind the axillary artery. So you cannot see it directly from this anterior view. So it's behind the axillary artery. That's why we have this posterior cord. So the lateral cord is the anterior division of the upper and middle trunk, which we have discussed. So when they combine together, we now form the middle trunk. When the middle cord, anterior division of the lower trunk. So the anterior division of the lower trunk forms the middle cord, and the posterior division is divisions of all cord. When all the posteriors of all cords, or when all the posterior of all trunks combine together, we now have the posterior cord. So what are the key side branches? The lateral pectoral cord. So the lateral pectoral muscles is supplied by the lateral cord. The medial pectoral muscles is supplied by the medial cord, and the thoracodorsal muscles is supplied by the posterior cord. And posterior cord also supplies the latissimus dorsi.